You're listening to The Real Short Box, a comic book podcast made for geeks by geeks.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to The Real Short Box. My name is Darin. Sitting across from me in this wonderful collared shirt with a sweater on top
is Dr. Kevin.
And, of course, this guy to my left who is wearing his My Little Pony t-shirt with his Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles lunchbox.
Laird Donald.
How does one become a laird?
Basically, you buy a 1 square foot plot of land at a Scottish castle, and you become a laird.
What's property value like there?
For that, I think it was like $100.
$100?
Per square foot.
Okay, and that would be about 92 pounds?
Shh, I don't know how much it weighs.
That's a monetary unit joke, people. All right, so now it has been a few weeks, and I must ask you guys, of course, we all know Jeffrey Epstein is no longer with us for many reasons. He allegedly committed suicide. But I would like to ask you guys this question. What superhero or supervillain do you believe, Kevin, would have killed Jeffrey Epstein?
I believe perhaps the comedian.
Okay.
I would like a little explanation, because I'm trying to wrap my head around that one.
Well,
Hired by the government, right?
Yeah, hired by the government. You know, they like to do certain special operations, if you know what I'm saying.
Donald, do you think that there might be a character who has so much inner pain within them from possibly being abused coming up that they would have taken out Jeffrey Epstein?
Someone that's been emotionally or physically abused? Oh, well, in that case, you'd probably go with the Silk Spectre if you're hanging within that universe, because she was physically assaulted by the comedian.
That's true.
Yeah. Interesting dichotomy we've got going on there, right?
Indeed we do.
Yes. Well, anyway, this is still going to keep trending. This is a popular thing, so I just had to ask these questions. Kevin, would you do us a favor and tell everybody what we will be doing in today's podcast?
Today we're doing something unique with our podcast. We decided to start on a new subject matter, fun facts we want to give you. Fun facts that you'll enjoy. So today's pod, we're going to give you 12 fun facts on Marvel Comics.
And we're going to do it in countdown format because everybody gets excited about countdown format.
Everybody loves a countdown because you wonder, what's number one? What's number one? Why I know what number one is? Will I care what number one is?
And why do these guys keep pontificating? Oh, I want to know what number one is.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get to number one, we must know what number 12 is.
That's right. All right. Number 12.
What is number 12? Darin?
Number 12 is going to be that Mario Puzo tried to write for Marvel Comics.
Okay. Who is Mario Puzo?
You don't know who Mario Puzo is?
No, I don't know. I'm sorry.
Okay, Mario Puzo is an author. He is probably best known for his novel, The Godfather. A solid novel, but you can arguably say that the movie is considerably better than the novel.
Yes, many people can make that argument.
Yes, also wrote a novel called The Last Dawn, which was a TV miniseries with Joe Mantegna that came out in 1994. Massive event on CBS.
Fine actor.
And, of course, let's not forget, he also wrote the original Superman movie.
That's correct. I think it was like a 300-page script. It was a very long script. I remember that.
You know, I thought it might have had to do with something with Kilowog. And that's only because he calls everybody a poozer. But I guess not.
That sounds like another fun fact in the honorable mentions.
The Green Lantern fun fact.
So Mario Puzo found writing comics actually to be way too difficult for him. He said he could have wrote a novel in the time it took him how to figure out to write one comic. But hey, it worked out for him, right?
It sure did.
Sure.
All right. So let's toss it up to number 11. Who is going to take number 11?
That'll be me. Number 11 is, did you know that George R.R. Martin, the creator of Game of Thrones, at least the book that is, but of course inspired the TV show, he wrote a letter to Marvel Comics in Fantastic Four, issue number 9, and it's signed, well, not signed, but it's printed as George R. Martin out of New Jersey, where he grew up. And he always talked about how comic books inspired him to be an author.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
To be a novelist.
Well, What do you think he would think about that ending to the series?
2 things, he probably laughed at it. And number 2, he's like, wait till I get to the end of my book in 20 years.
In 20 years. In 20 years? That's not bitch ain't gonna be around in 20 years.
And if you're real Game of Thrones fans, please don't forget to check out our Game of Thrones podcast predicting season 8 because we were money.
It's a classic.
Yep, we were so right and so wrong.
So we're on number 10 already. Who
Number
in the
10,
world is gonna
Donald.
take number 10.
I'll
hit
do
us
that.
with it.
Why not? Okay, so I don't know. This one's kind of an obvious one for those that are in the niche,
In the know.
in the fans
In the
of
know.
it. But did you know that Deadpool was actually a rip-off of a DC Comics villain? / I would say anti-hero now at this point.
Yeah.
Deathstroke, the Terminator, which was the Teen Titans villain originally. Came up being a great villain in there. Slade Wilson was Deathstroke. Now, if you hear that, Slade Wilson,
Sounds like
Wade
Wilson.
The quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings?
So, no.
No.
So basically, Fabian, that son of a...
There we go.
Fabian and Rob Liefeld created... I got no beef with Rob. Fabian created Deadpool, basically just, in traditional Fabian manner, ripped off something because he couldn't come up with something original.
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you have New Mutants 98?
I do.
So why are you
I got it
complaining?
for Rob. I didn't get it for Fabian. I got it for Rob.
Rob who? For Rob Liefeld?
Yes.
Let him spew his hate, please.
Yes.
okay.
I got it for Rob.
All right.
Yeah.
So let me also mention Deathstroke, an extraordinarily popular character in the Arrow TV series.
Yeah. Yeah, very popular in the Arrow TV series. Also, very popular. He was at the end of the Justice League movie that just came out a couple years ago. He made an appearance in that at the end. I think it was like a post-credit scene or something like that, if I recall. It was by Joe... what's his name? Joe Manganiello, or I cannot pronounce his name to save my life.
Joe Montana?
No,
not him.
It's True Blood.
Manganiello.
True Blood guy. Yeah.
Manganiello?
Manganiello,
there
yeah,
we go.
thank you. Joe Manganiello played Slade Wilson in
He looked good.
the end. Yeah, he looked damn good. I think right now, at this point, they're asking that they want Keanu Reeves, I think,
To play Deathstroke?
to play Deathstroke.
You're
Yeah,
kidding
I
me?
think that's what
You
they
know
were
what?
talking
Everyone's
about.
asking Keanu Reeves to play some comic book character.
It's weird the way they do this.
Moon
People just
Knight?
come out
I've
and
heard
like,
now.
yeah.
Moon Knight I want to play. Moon Knight, there's so many people
Yeah.
that want him to play.
Oh,
Yep.
just one moment. Pepsi, could you please be quiet? We're trying to record here. Thank you. That's our dog, Pepsi. It's our mascot.
Yeah, she's a cutie pie.
Yeah, Pepsi is really. I've had enough of Pepsi.
All right, so that's outstanding. Who is going to be covering number 9 on this list?
Oh well, that's me as well. I'm gonna cover that. I'm gonna go with the rape of Miss Marvel
Oh my god.
as number 9, guys.
Isn't
This
Carol
is number
Danvers?
9. Yeah, we've got a lot to go. Carol Danvers, Miss Marvel, was raped, and she supposedly liked it.
Oh my god.
Okay, when did this comic come out? Because I'd like to know what point in society that a mainstream comic outlet would say that a woman enjoyed being raped.
1980.
Ugh.
David Michelini and editor-in-chief at that time, Jim Shooter, were putting together plans for a monumental 200th issue of the Avengers when they decided to just go with it. Miss Marvel would be raped, and Miss Marvel would like it. The Avengers, I'm not kidding, the Avengers number 200 started off with Miss Marvel mysteriously coming to the last phases of pregnancy after a mere 3 days. After being delivered by her fellow Avengers to Thor's medically trained alter ego, I love this, Donald Blake, Miss Marvel immediately goes into labor and effortlessly gives birth to a baby boy.
Effortlessly.
Yes, at this point she's exhausted, confused, and distraught by her unexpected ordeal, claiming that she'd been used and that the child wasn't hers. Asking to be left alone from her Avenger buddies, the child, however, grows at an extremely rapid rate and soon is a fully grown adult man. And you're never going to guess this. You're never going to guess this.
What's that?
The baby was known as Marcus, but it was soon revealed by the child that he had gone back in time to impregnate his own mother. Further to this, it was revealed that he brainwashed Carol to have sex with him, essentially therein raping her.
That is pretty disturbing and disgusting.
Let's give some context to how this works here, guys. We do have a random fact generator. And literally, we don't pick the facts. They spit them out at us, okay? Tech is very smart. Computers are very smart. We would not handpick something like this. But wow, is that screwed up.
Yeah, man.
Totally
Wow.
messed up. Totally messed up for a number 9. I mean, this is only going to tell you what's going to happen from now
here on out.
You, you cannot be well and write a story like that.
And guys,
my opinion.
this did happen.
Yes, it did.
I'm not joking.
It's almost 40 years ago.
Avengers 200. This did happen in the
it's
80s.
out there. It's out there. Go on eBay. Go to your local comic shop.
Yep.
We're
check,
not
check
kidding.
it out. I
We're
mean,
not
you can easily Google it.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Matter of fact, there's articles written by many feminist writers about it.
Yes. Number 8, right?
Number 8.
Well, the generator has pointed to me. All right, Marvel trademarked the word zombies. In 1973, there was a movie that came out called The Tale of the Zombie. Marvel ended up trademarking the word. They actually released the trademark in 1996. And by released, I mean they decided to not renew it because they realized it was essentially impossible to enforce. I mean, but I have to ask, if you indeed trademarked the word zombie from 1973 to 1996, how much money do you think they possibly could have made off of copyright infringement? I mean, you've got George Romero doing these things, namely George Romero, and obviously, like, gosh, you take all of his dead movies, you take anything else that he was doing.
Fun fact about not the Romero universe itself, but about the zombie universe itself is that it was, what was it, Kevin? You can help me with this. Was it Return of the Living Dead? Or
That was a spoof. The Return of the Living Dead was like the spoof.
yeah,
Right.
Was the first time they that a zombie craved brains.
Yeah, that was the greatest thing ever. That was the funniest freaking set of movies. I love that.
Yes,
It's
yes.
like, Gerald, I just want to eat your brains. You know, it was just so funny.
Yep. Yeah, it was insane, but true.
Well, regardless, I mean, this is kind of a fun little fact. I mean, for people that are into zombie movies, I'm over them at this point personally.
No,
But
you're not. No, you're not.
yes, I am.
You're waiting for 28 months later.
28 months later would be okay, because 28 weeks later, I was down with.
It was pretty cool.
I thought it was cool.
It was pretty cool.
All right, so the generators hit up number 7. Who will be covering number 7?
Number 7 has to be you.
Ma? All right, well, number 7 is Venom was actually created by a fan.
Wait, I think I knew that.
Yeah, no, this is interesting. Randy Schuller, he actually sent in this idea to Marvel, and Marvel bought the idea for $220. And actually, Marvel sent him a letter saying, we have a desire to acquire this character. But did he get anything more than $220 from this character? I wonder.
If he was smart, he should have got the money plus any potential residuals.
But here's
Back then, he probably wasn't thinking that.
Here's the thing. I don't know. He very well could have been well compensated for this. But the question must be asked. And to be honest, I can't find this information easily. So that right away, I don't want to sit here and dog Marvel. I don't want to dog, Randy Schuller. I just want to make sure that, we get those facts straight. Maybe in a future podcast, revisit this.
The cool thing is Randy Schuller must have been somewhat happy last year when the Venom movie came out. He could literally say, look, I helped create that.
Isn't that insane?
I know. He literally could say that.
Insane that they had this contest basically.
Some kid.
Was it like the kid just wrote in and was like, "Hey, I like," and then they purchased it for $200.
$225 was it?
220.
220. Oh, I had to have that $20 in there.
No, but naturally, and I don't do this just to stroke you guys here at the Real Short Box, but both of you do have your copies of Spider-Man 300, which has been made, an argument has been made, is the most important book of the modern era. 1980. But this argument's
up there. It's up there.
The argument gets made because if you looked at the value, I know when I looked at the value 5-10 years ago, this thing was hovering near $1,000. That's insane.
Depending on the condition.
The condition, obviously.
Yeah, the condition and the autograph and all that.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
But the condition, obviously, being that this is a relatively newer book, you'll see a lot more of these in really good condition as opposed to something older.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The generator, it's just sitting here going to numero 5.
No, 6 actually.
It's 6. We're halfway through, Donald. You said this was going to be long and miserable for everybody, Donald.
Always is.
All right, number 6.
Number 6. Most of the original Marvel characters are based in New York. Unlike DC, which the characters are, based in fictional cities, New York is the basis, or at least the New York area are basis for most of those original Marvel characters. Fantastic Four, Freedom Tower, the X-Men, my boys, they're in Westchester County. Spider-Man, of course, is from Queens.
And obviously, you got to write what you know. Where is Stan Lee from?
He's from New York.
That's, see, make it simple and relatable.
As well as Jack Kirby, a lot of the great are all from the area. Steve, they're all from New York.
I'm not sure if you can hear that or not, but our random number generator has become one of those little rolly things in a bingo hall, and we have number 5 we're about to spit out.
Number 5. Yes, that's me. I'm number 5. Look at me. Johnny 5 is alive. That's an old reference for old people.
Short Circuit with Steve Guttenberg and Ali Sheedy. Did you mark off your bingo card with those markers that are always too wet?
Fisher Stevens, too, sir.
Fisher Stevens, yes.
Donald
Johnny 5.
He was in my science project.
Yeah.
Donald's got his ARP card recently.
You know what? I got that like 15, 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Accidentally, because I have the same name
as your dad.
Father, yeah, my grandfather, too.
That's true.
So, yeah. So mine is that for a moment in time, I think it was close to 10 years, something like that. For a while, DC Comics was distributing Marvel Comics. Now, I shit you not. So before, like in 57, the Marvel Comics basically collapsed. It was one of the top 3 publishers in the business behind only Western and Dell and possibly National. But that was mostly due to a number of titles. They cranked out 40 to 50 titles per month. Now, when they lost their distributorship, it was in the hands of National Comics, which would later become DC Comics, that decided that they would take on the publishing basically the distribution of Marvel Comics, but limited it to 8 titles. Marvel skirted that a little bit, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they did something where that they did like where they were able to sneak out 16 titles somehow instead of.
I think they did like kind of those 2-in-1 issues or something like that. There's kind of ways around it.
Something like that, or
it's very clever.
Or like they did a reprint, and yeah.
Stan
was very clever to be able to keep Marvel alive. If it wasn't for Stan, I wouldn't know where Marvel would stand.
As well as
basically.
Of course,
DC Comics kept Marvel Comics alive. If it wasn't for National DC Comics, we wouldn't have Marvel Comics this day.
And no MCU.
No Marvel Cinematic Universe. We would have nothing. And if we didn't have nothing, then we wouldn't have comic books in general. And what I love about comic books is not only the history of comics, but collecting comic books. And gentlemen, I'm going to take a pause for a moment, and I'm going to say that there is no better shop in all of the United States, if not the world, than Spiro's Heroes. And I'm going to tell you why. Recently, I was given a grand gift by my co-podcaster here, Darin, in that I had a gift certificate to go into Spiro's. And he might as well give me $1,000. It felt like it. I walked out with so many books.
Wow.
Elliot, again, took care of me. I walked into the kingdom of comics. Over 500,000 comic books there in the shop.
The Temple of Comics.
And I walked out with, now you're going to hear the crinkle here, because it's in plastic still. Even though it's in hard plastic, it's in a plastic Mylar. This is Nailbiter number 1. This is signed by all of the creators involved with Nailbiter. Now, it's a CGC 9.8. It does have the green label because they didn't authenticate. Thank you. They didn't authenticate the signatures, but I will correct that with taking this to CBCS, which actually does that. For those that do not know, CBCS does authenticate signatures.
For a price.
Yes, of course. Well, yes, of course. Everybody's got a price.
For the $1 Million Man.
Yes.
And I'm going to recommend to all of our listeners out there, when you do go to Spiro's Heroes, you might want to recommend, or you might want to mention that you do listen to The Real Short Box.
Yeah.
Trust me, it will help you.
Yes.
He loves us, and we love the Godfather of comics ourselves.
Yes, so Elliot and, everybody involved in Spiro's Heroes, thank you very much for all these lovely comics I was able to walk out with. I've walked out with so many good ones. I'll mention some a little bit later, but yeah. So thank you very much. That's Spiro's Heroes, and with that, we're on to number 4. And guess what? I get to do number 4, guys.
All right, Granny Sweetwater, bring it up.
All right. So what we have here is comic book it's an Easter egg of sorts, kind of like Darin. I think you were mentioned earlier with Aladdin, or was it the Lion King? It was the Lion King, wasn't it?
Yes.
With the stardust or whatever, it was spelling out sex.
But it was actually SFX.
Right. But in this comic book, it's spelling out sex, and we are talking about the new X-Men number 118. Ethan Van. I'm gonna ruin this. Siver,
something like that.
Shiver. I don't know. Ethan, I'm sorry. He did the art for New X-Men number 118, and some people noticed that there was could have been like sex instead of say SZX or something like that. And they noticed that it didn't happen just once in this comic. Once they took a closer look, it was upwards of, what was it, 18 times?
18 times. That is
18
incredible.
times he was able to sneak the word sex into panels in comic books.
See, and you guys wonder, there's always a reason we do these rants at the beginning. Jeffrey Epstein has, of course, brought up a number of conspiracy theories. But what happens when your conspiracy theory is actually quite true, like in this book?
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's almost as good as the boner covers for the Little Mermaid. But with that, that's my number 4. Let's move on to number 3.
Number 3 has come to me. All right. Michael Jackson wanted to be Spider-Man.
Wow.
Okay.
It's true.
Now, in the early 90s, Mike actually tried to buy Marvel to produce his own movie. Now, here's the thing. If you didn't think this could possibly happen, you would be wrong. Michael Jackson owns a large swath of the Beatles library, if not all of it, when he was alive, okay? So if you can purchase the Beatles library at a time that those trademarks and those rights were way more expensive than they are now because of printing of your albums and limited ability to get a lot of Beatles albums and such, trust me, he could have bought Marvel.
He came very close.
Yes. Stan Lee actually said that Mike would have been a good Spider-Man, but Tobey Maguire was wonderful, which is code for he would have been awful. All right? I'm actually thinking, okay, I have to be nice, because we are a nice podcast, we're positive, we're uplifting, but I'm going to get one in here. Could you imagine what Jacko the Wacko would have actually done with this soundtrack?
I'm offended, sir.
I mean,
Michael Jackson is one of my favorite artists.
He can be, look, two things can be true at once. He can be your favorite artist and be a wacko. My question is...
He was a little bit silly. I will give him that, dangling his
but the
son,
media
outside the window.
made him more of that
Of
wacko
course,
Jacko.
that's always the way it is.
But
the media takes a hold of anything.
But I have to ask a serious question. What would this soundtrack be? Would Michael, of course, put himself in the soundtrack? Because, I mean, how could you resist, right? It's your Spider-Man.
Oh, my God. Absolutely, he would have put himself...
Prince
he'd be
did a
a
good job
fool.
with the Batman. So, even though I know it's a little different, but
He
still.
would be a fool not to put himself in there. I mean, come on.
But, I mean, honestly, what do you do when you're spinning your webs? You go, I mean, really? Like, is that how your web's going to come out? I'm sorry. This is crazy to me.
Look, instead of moonwalking, he's like moon flying. I don't know.
Did you play Michael Jackson's Moonwalker for Sega Genesis?
It was awesome.
I did.
It was, actually.
No. It's cool in its own right, but it's cool because it's a piece of history and it's ridiculous. But the damn thing's kind of hard in parts. Like, I don't know.
By the way,
not my thing.
Any comments you put in on our page regarding any of these conspiracies about Michael or any of the other legal stuff, we will ignore them. I'm just warning you right now. We don't care. We're just bringing this up in the purpose of comic books. Now, that being said, number 2 is out in the world.
Yes. And number 2 fact is, did you know that Marvel Comics wasn't always called Marvel Comics?
Say it ain't so.
Yes, it had 2 other names before that. In 1939, when it was created, it was actually known as Timely Comics.
That sounds intriguing.
Yes, it is quite intriguing. Now, interestingly enough, its very first title was called Marvel Comics number 1.
Yes, that's true. And who was in Marvel Comics number 1?
The original Android Submariner. Excuse me, that's the Android Submariner. And the original Android Human Torch and
The Submariner.
Namor the Submariner.
Right. Who is the first mutant.
That is correct.
And how many copies of that book do each of us own?
Jesus.
Well, until my business really takes off, it's going to be about maybe a good 3-4 years before I can probably purchase that one for about, I don't know, $800,000 or something.
Is that what it is? 800,000? Okay.
Probably, at least.
All right.
I'm sure there's probably one going for that at least. There's so few of them out
Get
there.
a 0.5.
Yeah, probably get a 0.5.
Well, come on.
Get a page.
You make $400,000 a year.
Yeah, that's true.
We're getting there.
Kevin makes a lot.
We're getting there.
He's rich.
Now, in 1951, it changed its name to Atlas Comics.
Ah, and those were the golden years.
Now,
for
for
me.
those of you, if you're interested, and I think you should be, go into our archives, and we actually have a pod on Atlas Comics from our overall comprehensive Marvel history.
Did we do a 6-part or an 8-part? I can't remember.
We did an 8-parter, sir.
8-part history of Marvel Comics, and one of those parts, it's a 2-parter where we discuss Atlas Comics.
Correct.
And it is well deserved, so please check that out when you get time.
Indeed.
Even if you don't have time, just check it out. Do it.
Yes, it wouldn't become the Marvel Comics as you know until 1961 with the debut of the wonderful and righteous Fantastic Four.
Mm-hmm.
Are we actually at number 1?
We sure are.
I think we are, yeah.
All right, Donald's misery is about to be over.
Yes. And number 1, are you ready? Are you ready?
Yeah, bring it.
Number 1 is that Darth Vader was inspired by the Fantastic Four villain, Doctor Doom.
You know, it's interesting. We had talked in our Indie Villains podcast, some of the influence Meng the Merciless also had on Darth Vader, but Doctor Doom, I mean, you could just tell by the costume. It was obvious because George Lucas secretly was a fanboy.
Of course. I mean, think about it. The menacing power. I mean, think about it. If Doctor Doom has a voice, he probably would sound a little bit like Vader.
And his magic could be easily seen as the Force.
Exactly.
Or the dark side, I guess.
The dark side. You know, he's covered head to toe like in a metallic or some kind of, armored,
scarred face.
Scarred face, exactly.
Doctor Doom was frightening. I mean, just plain and simple. I mean, just a frightening character.
Somebody has his first appearance. I can't remember who that is.
I think it's the guy who's speaking right now.
What?
Yes, I do.
Oh, you're crazy.
Oh, yes.
And what would that book be, sir?
Fantastic Four, issue number 5.
Wow.
And if you could be so kind as to give everyone your address.
Sure. Now, one thing I should say, it has an advertisement, that particular issue, of a future character that would come out in another month during that period of time of the Incredible Hulk.
Wow, that's great. We're still doxing you.
The very first advertisement for the Incredible Hulk is
Did
in
they
that
show
issue.
a picture of the Hulk?
Yep, they do.
So that's basically the first appearance of the Incredible Hulk, too.
You got it. You got that right.
Damn, why doesn't anybody discuss that?
I don't know.
That's insane.
I don't know.
Because, like, for example, the first appearance of the Blue Devil or the first appearance of Amethyst in DC Comics is in the previews that they put in these books. Like, they put a couple page previews of the book, and that qualifies. Or, like, an early, even, for example, The Walking Dead. That first appearance was in, Agent 88 or something like that. It was an Image comic book where they did an advertisement for it. Or Rust.
It's true.
Which did an advertisement for Spawn before Spawn came out.
That's
so
true.
there's all these things. So I've never heard that before. That's crazy.
It is crazy.
But, Kevin, we're still going to dox you on your address here, possibly your phone number and email.
Sure.
Personal email, not business email.
Yep, 555 is his phone number. It starts with a 555.
6782.
Film.
And if you want his real contact information, be a hot woman.
Ooh.
Or a guy, I guess.
Well, guys, surprisingly, I think this is going to wrap up our list. These are great. We are going to come back to these quite a bit because these are fun little
These are
facts.
lots of fun.
This is really something that shows that you're listening to a podcast where we do the research, we give it to you, and now you are armed with facts when you go to your comic shops.
And you can verify those facts in case you don't believe us.
Yep, look them up. And with that, I mean, we're gonna check out here, but please take a moment, check us out on Spotify. We're on Google Music Play or Google Play Music, iTunes, YouTube, basically anything and everything that has radio involved or podcasting involved. We're there. So please check us out, listen to us, and maybe if we get lucky, we'll see you
at the wonderful and delicious comic shop.
This has been The Real Short Box. We'll see you at the comic shop. Thanks for listening.